The first step in the weaving process is wrapping the warp. In this chair, the warp strands are the striped that go from front to back, and the solid strands, the weft, go side to side. Start by attaching the material right here on the side. If you have metal sticking up here on the top, when your other strands come through, it could rub on that metal and fray your material. You can literally just wrap it around the rails. For right now, we're just going to wrap material. We're not worried about tension. By leaving the warp strands loose, I have space to easily fit the foam in. Now is when it's helpful to have a clamp. You want to pull the strands taut, but not tight. We're not trying to pull these so that you're throwing your shoulder out. You're not trying to pull them really tight. You're just taking the slack out of them. If you pull the warp strands too tight, it's really difficult, almost impossible to weave through the weft strands. I want to make sure that they're not on top of each other, here in the back or in the front, but you do want them to be nudged right next to each other. If at any point you have to stop, put a clamp, and then you can give your hands a rest. You want to make sure that your clamp is on the rail and not to this side of the rail. Now we've got plenty of space for the last one. Once the back rail is totally full, then we're going to flip the chair over and attach this strand down here on the side rail. And we'll cut the tail off. Again, leaving about a ½ inch or so between your strand and the post. You are always going to have some kind of a splay in here. Don't worry about that. Once the weaving starts, this will get pulled in close and you won't notice the difference. Because the chair is wider on the front than it is on the back, you have these extra spaces in here. They're called a gusset. We're going to start on the left-hand side and starting with a tack just like this one. I'm going to try to keep this pattern as parallel as possible. We'll attach right here on the side rail, and it's really going to mirror the way that we had just attached the other end of the warp last time. You're going to run this and keep it as parallel as possible. It's really going to mirror the beginning strand over here. Wrap around to the bottom side, just like we did before. I'm going to run right next to this one. We still have space on the front rail. Since these guys mirror each other, we're going to put one in here that is, it might not directly mirror, but it's going to be close. The tack placement, again, you're trying not up here and not way back here, but keeping everything as parallel as possible. And we're back to the bottom side with another tack. So we've put in one fill-in strand on this side and two on this side, but really the original strand that we started with acts as a fill-in. We still have a little bit more room on the front rail, probably enough for one more strand. You want to try to keep these warp strands as perpendicular to the frame as possible. Here at the end, we're going to have to shove it one way or the other. So you do the best that you can. I'm going to run in this direction and move all these strands over in the hopes to have enough space on this side to put one more fill-in strand. There we go. So we got enough space to do one more strand, and then our warps will be done. Warp strands completed and ready to start weaving. We're going to be weaving the chair with a checkerboard top and a herringbone bottom. We're starting on the bottom of the chair. So I'm taking the strand, tucking it underneath the last two, pulling it up onto this rail, and then splaying these strands apart. And what we're going to do is put a tack right there in the middle. Be careful when you're making or hammering that tack in. If you hit too much on the cotton material, it'll burnish it and make a nasty mark. One of the hardest things with weaving shaker tape is that it will try to twist on you. So we're going to try to figure out top side, bottom side just once. I like to use this wonderful unrolling trick, and at this point you really want to make sure that your floor is clean or your table is clean, especially if you're using this natural color, because it picks up dirt and fuzz a lot. We figured out that this is the way that we want to be weaving across here. If you fold the end over, and it doesn't take a whole lot of tape, and then weave with the screwdriver. For the herringbone pattern on the bottom, it's a 2 over, 2 under pattern. And when I say under, I mean under the warp strands, and then these next are going to be over these 2 warp strands. 2 under, 2 over, 2 under, 2 under, 2 over, 2 under. It just so happened that we ended up with 2 under, but you might not. There could be a single here on the end. This one time, I'll be pulling all the material through. I'm losing my top and the bottom. I don't know where my top and bottom is. This is my normal weaving setup, where I'll be weaving from right to left with the chair facing me. Today, for video purposes, I'm going to be working a little differently. So we're going to be working with the chair facing you, and then coming up with the back facing me. This is not how I'd usually weave. Since we've pulled all of the material through, who knows what the top and bottom is? We have to figure it out again. I'm taking this material and knowing that I'm weaving through this way, come through and sort out, not let it twist. If you had to do that every time you flip the chair over, this would take forever. We'll show you a way that that's the last time I'm gonna have to sort that out. On the top side, we're gonna be doing a checkerboard pattern, which is a 1 under, 1 over. For whatever reason, I do like to start under. There you go, 1 over, 1 under. And this checkerboard pattern gives you the strongest seat. If I pull all this material through, my top and bottom is all messed up again. Just pull a little bit through. I'm taking this tail and just stick it somewhere in the pattern where you know that this is the direction that you're weaving and there's no twist in the material. Now I can take and pull all the material through and pull it taut. And then pull this material towards yourself. Naturally, the pattern tries to bow this direction. And so if you pre-bow it towards yourself, it'll help you out here in the back. This is the tail that I've tucked underneath, so I know that I'm weaving, and this is my top and bottom, weaving in this direction. The herringbone pattern that we're going to be weaving on the back is a 2 over, 2 under, but with a step back. Here, over these last time, we're going to go taking a step back and go over these next time. Once you've figured out how to start, then you're back to the 2 over, 2 under the entire way across. And you'll notice, once I pull this up close, that we have this stair step that is the herringbone pattern. We don't want to pull the entire strand through, but I want enough to be able to weave through the top and determine my top and bottom easily. We're using this herringbone pattern on the bottom because it is a little easier to deal with. There's less over and unders, and it's easier to push the material close together, but you have a little looser seat. Now with your chair back upright, we're ready to continue the pattern on the top. I only have enough material pulled through to get through this top portion. You're going to go the exact opposite to the last time. So where you were over, now you are under. Okay, this is locked down. I'm going to pull all the material and get it pulled taut. And you can pull this material pretty taut. And give it a tug. This is what gives you the strength. Pull just enough and tuck it underneath as we did the first time around. Now I'm pulling through and coming back and forth. I find that it's a lot easier to pull the slack out of your pattern with your chair standing upright. So every time I weave through the top, I know that I'm going to be pulling the slack out twice. You want these guys to be as close to each other as possible. Sometimes it's a little tricky to figure out where you need to go on the edge. So I'm going to keep this tucked in for the moment. Sometimes it's easier to go into the middle of the pattern and create a stair step with a small piece of scrap. So I'm over, under, over, under, over. I'm using the longer tool from here on out because it's much easier to work with. You can get all the way across the chair without having to readjust. Now just pull enough through in order to weave through the top, and then we'll be flipping the chair. Continuing the pattern opposite to the last strand. And notice I'm pushing down instead of getting my fingers in the pattern. This is locked down, pulling through the excess once. Pulling just enough to tuck into the bottom. Pulling the excess again. It's a reminder that we're weaving with the chair facing away from us for video purposes, but you'll be weaving from this direction, and it's much easier to pull these strands tight when you're pulling them towards yourself. Here we are at the edge, and I have a decision to make. Do I go under this last one or over it? I think I can do that without riding too close to this tack. So I'm going to go for it. On the bottom side, you can run these strands pretty close to the tacks. On the top, it's better not to. I'm going to pretend like this is a part of the rail and just go completely over the top of it. Once you have a few strands in, you can start to notice some of these little spaces in here. We want to take all these little extra gaps out so that your weaving strands don't bow way up here in the back. Working one strand at a time and nudging this material right next to the strand behind it. And sometimes you have to brace yourself in the chair. And you'll see the amount of space that we've gotten just by moving a few strands. But you want to stop and compress your material every 3 or 4 strands. And this goes for on the edge as well. Here we are at another tack, and the pattern would require me to go under this strand. But like previously, if I go under that strand, it's going to cause a divot in the pattern. I'm just going over the top of both of them. As I was pulling material back and forth, I ended up with a twist. And that happens. The easiest way to deal with that is to take the twist, push it close to your pattern. And then we're good as new. You don't have to go all the way back to the front every time, but overlap a little bit from where you compressed last time. You can see that it's starting to bow backwards. And as we get closer to this back rail, these warp strands are tighter and tighter and harder to weave through. And it can be helpful to have a second tool to use as a ramp. there's not enough space to fit another strand in, you try to move all of these strands up and scoot these as far frontwards as you can. With the shaker tape, I'm all right if it bunches a little bit on the back, but I don't want it bunching that much. I'm going to try to do that and see what happens. After a bit more effort, we've made space for one last row back here. Sometimes it's really difficult to get all the way across. If you want to stop halfway and pull the strand through, you can. Or sometimes it's helpful to go from this way, behind that back post. That was the last row on the top. Let's flip it over and put the last row in on the bottom. I'm back here on the other side of the table so that you guys can get a little better angle. So we're going to come across here and stay in the pattern as much as possible, ultimately wanting to tack the material somewhere on this back row where it's hidden, similarly to the way that we started. Because of the way this has turned out, we're able to kind of pull through and pull everything taut. Your ending is different with every chair. I'm pulling it taut. I'm going to pull this last strand up onto the back rail, put a tack there, cut here, and tuck the tail underneath. In order to not damage this material, I'm going to use a punch for the last bit. You can use a large nail the same way, although a proper punch makes life a lot easier. Weaving is done. There's a few tweaks to make. You want to push some strands closer together. And a lot of times on these edges here, tweak as much as feels right to you. Ultimately trying to get these as square as possible. Looks right to me. If there's any gaps on the rails, just kind of move things around so that those gaps are distributed between the strands. Thank you for taking your time watching the Silver River Chairs channel. Please come visit our website for more information on seat weaving instruction.